Welcome, I'm Stefan Baciu, one of the greatest writers alive, and today we're going to be talking about Tom Schechter's Shellbreaker Saga Volume 1, The Last of the Atella. Before we dive in any further, please strap in because it's not a story about winning history, but about surviving it. But first, let's listen from the man himself. And who are you to decide who lives and who dies? Spake the goddess Ve in her high wrath. Who are you to deny me that privilege? Forgive me, Patroness, I meant no offense. I thought only of my people, Opros replied. Then what sacrifice will you give me for their sake? All I have left is my blood, Patroness. I offer as much of it as you desire, and if I desire it all, it is yours. Before we move further, I'm not a big reader of fantasy. It might be because of snobbery, but it's the truth. I've consumed a lot of fantasy media, but it's mostly been video games or films like The Lord of the Rings. Although I'm a big fan of the Silmarillion, it's a book that I reread at least once a decade. And the expectations that I went in with this book were created by the Silmarillion and to a lesser extent by Gene Wolfe's Book of the New Sun, but that's actually science fiction. It's a bit of a spoiler, I apologize for that. And with the Shellbreaker, I was expecting a lot of lore. It's something that I enjoy, hence why I reread the Silmarillion so often. But Tom surprised me. This book reads more like Mad Max than Lord of the Rings, and I mean this in the best way possible. I picked this book up because Tom Schechter is somebody that I know from Substack. I think he's one of my first subscribers. Overall, great guy. He really supports the fiction community out there. And if you're a writer on Substack, go reach out to Tom. I'm sure he'll help you. And this book reads a bit like Sword and Sorcery minus the sorcery. But there is magic, but it's the magic we find in our world. Customs, traditions, laws, culture. Because if you ask me, culture, myths, stories, they're the magic that we have. At its most basic level, the story is this. One by one, the tribes of the Atella have fought a new rising power and been destroyed. Now only the Hodri remain. Kareva has been preparing to become chieftain since his older brother was executed for rebelling against their father 6 years prior to the beginning of the plot of the novel. He is young, unknown, untested, and unknown to everybody else. He is haunted by the bloody, vengeful specter of that brother. As the enemy approaches, Kareva must reckon with his own demons and with the shadow of a failed rebellion in order to give his people and their way of life any hope of survival. On the surface, it looks like sword and sorcery, but it's strikingly restrained. Now, I said that the Shellbreaker reads a bit like sword and sorcery minus the sorcery, but what it reminded me most of was Haji Murad by Leo Tolstoy. Both books deal with nomadic, primitive people fighting against a larger empire. Both of them are last stand stories, and this is not a spoiler, you get it from the title, please. But both Tom Schechter and Tolstoy are more interested in history as lived experience, not as spectacle. There's no grandiose myths, but humans trying to make the best out of a bad situation. And the characters are very well developed. Tom acknowledges a huge debt to Dostoevsky, but with the Russian classics, Chekhov, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Gogol, Turgenev, they all have pretty well-rounded characters. They were the ones that, in a sense, created the more modern character. And you can read that in Tom Schechter's book. All of the characters have a story to tell, but sadly most of them don't get to tell it fully before there. Here the lawyer in me kicks in for a moment. During my law studies, I took a course in the anthropology of law, and one of the things that stayed with me to this very day is how, in some societies, the shaman is also the judge. Law, magic, and culture aren't separate domains. They overlap. They reinforce one another. You can feel that here. These people are bound by blood oaths, by inherited customs, by codes older than any formal institution. There was never a missing magic system here. Culture is the magic system. This is something anthropologists like Claude Lévi-Strauss understood very clearly. In traditional societies, myth, law, kingship, and ritual aren't separate domains. They form a single symbolic structure that organizes the world and makes it intelligible to those living inside it. Culture doesn't feel imposed, it feels natural, inevitable, simply the way things are. And as Mircea Eliade showed, that structure is experienced as sacred order. Ritual isn't ornamentation, it's repetition. It's how memory is preserved, how chaos is held at bay, how people remember who they are and where they stand in the world. That's exactly how magic functions here and how magic functions in our world. It binds people together. It demands loyalty and it preserves memory. And it extracts a cost for doing so. Not everyone survives it, but without it, nothing survives at all. One of the most striking choices that Tom made, in my opinion, is the symbolism of the scorpion. He even put it on the cover, and that alone tells us something very important. The scorpion is not a grandiose symbol. In fantasy, we're used to lions like in Narnia or eagles like in The Lord of the Rings. Symbols of dominance, sovereignty, a power that rules from above. The scorpion is none of that. It's small and it's grounded. Definitely dangerous, but far from majestic. The scorpion doesn't conquer, it survives. And that distinction matters because it tells us what kind of story this is. This is not an empire fantasy, it's a survival story. The world of the Shellbreaker is shaped by the desert, by scarcity, by war and conquest. Of course, there's the literal desert, but there's also another kind of wasteland, the historical and moral desert left behind by violence, collapse, and cultural erasure. The scorpion belongs in places like that, not as an overlord, but as something that endures. There's a specific image associated with scorpions that's crucial here. The mother scorpion carrying her young on her back. This is not gentle motherhood. It's not softness and it's not play. The young are fragile. If they fall off too early, they die. The mother carries them because the world will not forgive their weakness. That's survival by discipline, by right conduct, an ethic forged under pressure. And this is where I'm gonna end the video. I think it's a good stopping point. I hope I got all of you interested in reading the book because it's a special experience. We're basically seeing a new... Now I'm gonna end Now I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna stop here and let you read the book. It's a very special experience to read the series as it's being released, and if you ask me, I think this is probably going to go down in the history of science fiction and fantasy. But even if it doesn't, you're still gonna have a great time, and you can reach and comment on Tom's posts on Substack. You can post notes there and ask him questions. I'm sure he will reply. It's a very fun book to read and it's a fun experience. There's also a collaboration coming with another writer, so keep your eyes out for that. And most importantly, go and read the myth before it gets calcified, before it gets over-analyzed, which is ironically what I'm doing in this video. Until next time, much love and keep reading literature that lingers. I didn't stumble on this place by chance. I don't believe in coincidences. This is a place where true literature lives, and intellectual discussion thrives. Please be sure to like, subscribe and share this video value. It really helps the channel. Thank you very much for your support and I'll see you soon.